but more of it's in a cursive, which I thought was going to be harder to read than it was. Like, I don't know. I guess the first time I see cursive, I'm like, oh, I got to read in cursive. But and I don't know if they do they even teach cursive in schools anymore. It might just be a handwriting thing, but I don't know anybody who writes in cursive.
Well, I write my checks in cursive. Yes, checks.
Yeah, you mean you write your name, or you write the words on the check in cursive?
The numbers, like
100,
52, and
then when you do the zero, you write it a line all the way across so someone can't write, and $1 million more.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I do. I remember that from business math.
Yeah.
But so this is cool because look at the size difference between Fisk. Is his name Fisk? No, what's his name? Flask. And
the guy walking Gordon to his new office.
Yeah, so he meets his new partner and
he kind of manhandles some people along the way and takes them under his wing and says, "Don't worry, buddy. Yeah, Gotham's not as bad as it looks, especially if you're a cop. Cops got it made in Gotham." So he's kind of alluding to the political corruption and the cops might not be on the up and up, and he's got himself a new partner who is he was willing to play it rough.
Play it rough. Yeah, he's like the anguish on that guy who's just selling Bibles at the airport, and he chokes him out. Mm-hmm. So, and then on the same note, Bruce Wayne, who's got a valet who's carrying all his luggage, and he gets accosted by a female reporter who is just totally smitten with him. He's the return of this amazing Gotham's most eligible bachelor and isn't he good looking? And I have to say, Mazzucchelli's art here makes him look really good looking. Look at that hair. I mean, when you see that, the lower, when he gets to the mansion and you see the lower, that hair is amazing. He looks like Superman.
Yeah.
But I jumped ahead, but there's a back and forth between Gordon and his new boss, and there's more of that, just go with the flow, and you'll do fine.
And Gordon kind of makes a mention that he's learning the system, but he's making note of all of the things that he sees, and also in the background, his wife is pregnant.
Oh yeah,
or she gets pregnant, he's hoping that she doesn't get pregnant because he doesn't want his kids to grow up in this city that's so corrupt. This dirty city. I pray the tests are negative. And then turns out she has a boy named Jimmy.
Yeah. And
Bruce Wayne is meanwhile honing his skills and trying to find a way to change the city, but he doesn't really have a method to the madness. He just has the training
and the will to do it, go out into these mean streets. And we'll circle back to that because this is really cool when he makes his first attempt. But
I liked because you see him fail first, which I think more comics need, that the first level of failing before success. So, his first costume is just a scar on his face.
Yeah.
And he tries to go undercover, but he's still driving his fancy car. And he waits till he only comes out late at night, so that way he can have a reasonable excuse. Yeah,
and
so it does a lot of good setup to, the philosophy and his future practices pretty early on.
I have to say that this whole entire first issue is fantastic setup. It is just setup after setup after setup, Whereas, there's a straight up, 1-page scene where what is his partner's name? Flask. Flask is having, beers in the car, sees some hoods on the corner, and just manhandles him into a dumpster, and then he's like, I found this on him, and it's a switchblade comb.
Yeah.
You can't be too careful.
Yeah, I guess not. You gotta make note of that, don't you, Commissioner?
Oh, and then this is also a cool device with this Batman Year One. Above a lot of these pages and intermixed is a date. February 12th, January 17th.
And so the timeline actually skips ahead quite, like, there's pretty big jumps between the days. So it'll be like, Gordon's talking about his wife's pregnancy test, and then the next one he's like, oh, it's going to be a boy. You know, they remind me I've got a pregnant wife. So, he makes some kind of stand against it's a pretty mild stand against the other cops, and they start to beat him up with baseball bats.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? He's like, so there's one scene where, Flass is telling the commissioner, that, somebody offered Gordon a bribe, a $50 bribe, within the handshake, and Gordon didn't take it, instead gave a 2-hour lecture on behavior and blah, blah, blah. You know, he like standing up to this corruption. And
yeah, but in like a very mild way.
It's mild, like
$50, you know, that's not a big deal.
But Flass is just like, we got to do something about this, and he's and the commissioner's just like, wait till I'm out of town on one of my commissioner's retreats.
Yeah, the current commissioner.
Yeah, and then you can do whatever you like. And holy cow, it is really brutal.
The 3 guys come at him with baseball bats and hit him in the back of the head.
There's 4
you're right,
guys.
there's 5 guys.
No, there's 4 here. There's 4 in the silhouettes, and they...
Oh, I see 5. Because look at Gordon's on the ground. There's 4 bats swinging.
Oh, right. I was just looking at that.
And there's one guy whose bat is all the way down, I think.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. They're it almost looks like they're doing that thing like with the railroad spikes where like everybody hits it in like succession, but nobody's hitting at the same time.
Yeah, and they take Gordon out. Poor Gordon, he's got to work the late shift, he has to work a night shift, and all the guys are supposed to be at a poker game, but they're not at a poker game. They're there beating poor Gordon up.
And the art on the panel of him on the end of that page where he's just on the ground and he's got a really yellowish tinge to his face. It says that he hears a familiar chuckle, Flass, but the art that shows his face is, it's really good.
It's also this.
I love the coloring too, the yellow.
Oh yeah, and that background,
a little bit
like
of sunset
background.
Yeah.
But the cool part of this is we see that yellow Gordon's script in his diaries or wherever he's writing this, and he says, it's been a while since I've been in a scuffle with a Green Beret. Flass is an ex-Green Beret who's got 1.5 foot on him and a couple hundred, or another 60 pounds. You know, he's a bruiser, and but
Gordon has his own, like, he can fight.
Yeah, he can fight.
They definitely established that Gordon has a little bit of physical prowess himself.
Yeah, he actually manhandles or gets one of these bats away from one of these guys and works one of these guys over before, there's 5-on-1, so he's gonna get his butt whipped. And he does.
Yeah. And then we flash to, back to not Batman yet, but Batman wannabe, and he's walking down the dirty red light district, which is really, they do a great job of the red.
Oh, this is very cool art. This is
the coloring is great. And he also kind of does like a very mild thing that he gets come up, like the first thing that he does to try to help someone out isn't even really hardly anything. It's like a child prostitute comes up to him and is like, hey, do you want, like, let me, they start talking, and he's like, I'm not interested. And then the pimp comes up and is like, well, looks like I'm gonna have to fight you.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Batman, so Bruce Wayne, he really didn't even do anything other than not take up a child prostitute on her offer. And this pimp comes at him with a knife that he very coolly steps back from, and the guy like overextends himself and gets tripped up, and Batman does a swift little kick to him. But then the girl stabs him in the leg.
Yeah. So a little bit of Batman background here. All of these characters, so the little girl is, and this is it's not kind of seedy, it's very seedy. I mean, you imagine, like, here Frank Miller has Selina Kyle as a prostitute looking down on all of this.
Yeah, so you do see, and I guess it's not really a spoiler, but Catwoman is introduced, and she's looking down, and she you can tell that these are like setups for future characters, but they don't say it super explicitly, but they're given enough attention that you pay attention, and you're like, I need to remember, the pimp has a very distinct looking face.
And the little girl,
the young girl is pretty distinct looking too. You're like, I bet these are going to be important characters much later.
They stay with it too. And yeah,
it's good establishment.
Yeah.
But it's not like in your face, like giving you a background story right when they're introduced.
Right. And that step back move that he does, his hands are in his pockets when he steps back away, like avoiding that slashing knife. It's just so cool. And he does, and he handles himself pretty well. He takes him out.
I actually think that's one of the best action panels I've seen. Like, it, just like in how well one panel is able to show action, you can see the guy overextending himself with a knife cut. You can see Bruce Wayne doing his step back, and it's all in one. There's no setup for it. It's just all in one panel. You see the whole action.
Yeah, it is fantastic, and like he's got like this sort of pancake makeup on with the fake scar, and he's having fun. He's out there having fun until he gets stabbed in the leg.
Yeah,
I was trying to help you. You're welcome. And Selina, and so he twists.
Does it say her name's Selina?
Yeah, somewhere it does. It does. So he twists Holly's arm with the knife in it, as you would. I mean, like, she stabbed me. And there's a couple other, I don't want to call them prostitutes.
Few action panels.
But
oh yeah.
Other women jump on poor Bruce Wayne, and they're like, you can't be beating up on poor Holly, and then Selina is not going to.
Selina jumps in from her perch up in the apartment buildings.
And this is some cool action too, because this is Selina and Bruce Wayne fighting it out. And he decks her.
I thought this action was fine, but maybe just in comparison to that one knife panel was so cool.
Yeah, and he decks her, and of course the Fuzz show up. They're the cops, and
yeah, and now he's in trouble too.
Yeah, he's got a bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
He's taking a few licks.
He shouldn't be there, and the cops shoot him.
Oh yeah! Oh, I've totally missed this. Yeah, they shoot him right in the shoulder.
Yeah, he needs a doctor. But then they even handcuff him. But somehow when he's handcuffed, he breaks the handcuffs.
That's a move.
And is able to escape.
That's a move that everybody probably, all superheroes know. That's an easy move.
Yeah. Just break the handcuffs. Easy.
Yeah. And of course, there's a terrible accident.
And also we should mention that, like, when he gets shot, there's a kablam, and when he breaks the handcuffs, there's a chink that kind of fill up the page. If you're into that kind of stuff, it is there, but it's not crazy. Like, there's a screech when the cars come up, but it's not like there's a pow with his punches. Yeah. Like, I think it's appropriate, but it's there, but it's not too heavy.
Yeah. I guess I didn't. I didn't even notice those things. They should be there.